She got curious about all the hype of social media that she kept hearing about. At first, it was small, just a few minutes here and there, a quick scroll, a way to pass the time, nothing serious. That's what she told herself. But slowly, it became something else, something she reached for without thinking. In the morning, before her own thoughts had time to form. At night, when everything used to go quiet, or at least it used to. Now the noise will always there. Endless voices, endless opinions, endless lives being displayed in perfect little squares, telling her what mattered, what to want, what to buy, who to be. And without even realizing it, she stopped asking those questions for herself. At first, she told herself it was normal. Everyone was doing it, everyone was keeping up. Everyone was chasing something, but something inside her fell off. Not loud enough to stop her, but quiet enough to stay. She couldn't sit still anymore. Even a few seconds of silence felt like something was missing, like she needed to reach for something, anything, just to fill the space. Until one day, she stopped. Not because she planned to, not because someone told her to, but because for a brief moment she caught herself, phone in her hand, scrolling without thinking, again. And for the first time, it didn't feel normal. It felt empty. She looked around. The room was quiet, still real. Nothing had changed except her. And that's when it hit her hard. She had spent so much time watching everyone else live. She had slowly stopped living her own life, all the noise, all the voices, all the pressure to be more, to have more, had replaced her own. And the scariest part, she didn't even notice when it happened. It didn't happen all at once. It faded, little by little, moment by moment, scroll by scroll. She slowly lowered the phone, not out of discipline, but because for the first time it felt meaningless, and in that silence, something unfamiliar returned clarity. And maybe the hardest truth is this: nothing was taken from us. We gave it away, our time, our attention, ourselves, one scroll at a time.
Molly stood at the edge of the living room for a second before stepping in. The house was already full. Voices layered over each other, laughter rising and falling. Glasses clinking somewhere near the kitchen. She adjusted her purse on her shoulder and took a quiet breath before walking in. Barbara was in the centre of it, of course. She stood near the kitchen island, surrounded by 3 women, talking with her hands, her voice just a little louder than everyone else's. The group leaned in toward her, laughing at something Molly couldn't hear from where she stood. Molly walked closer. It happened quickly, so quickly that if she hadn't felt it before, she might have missed it. The laughter stopped. Not all at once, but enough. One woman looked down at her drink, another reached for her phone. Barbara's smile held, but it shifted just slightly. "Oh, hey," Barbara said, turning toward her. You made it?" Molly nodded. "Yeah. Traffic wasn't too bad." There was a pause. A small one. But it stretched. Then someone cleared her throat. Another woman said something about the weather. The conversation picked up again, but it wasn't the same. It felt thinner, like something had been removed from it. Molly stood there for a moment, not sure where to place herself. She smiled when someone glanced her way. No one asked her anything. No one really acknowledged her presence. After a minute she stepped back. She moved toward the backyard where it was quieter. The air was cooler, the noise from inside muffled by the sliding glass door. A few kids ran past her laughing, chasing each other across the grass. She watched them for a while, letting the quiet settle back into her. It wasn't the first time. She had felt it before at dinners on short trips, sitting at tables where conversations circled around things that never seemed to land anywhere real. Names, places, opinions. People being picked apart and put back together for entertainment. She had tried to join in once or twice. It never fit. At first she thought it was just her, that maybe she wasn't trying hard enough. Maybe she was too quiet, too reserved, but over time it became clearer. It wasn't that she didn't belong anywhere, she just didn't belong there. From inside, laughter broke out again, louder this time, familiar. Practiced. Molly leaned against the railing and looked out toward the darkening sky. The air smelled faintly of something grilling, mixed with the cool of the evening. For a moment she thought about going back in, trying again. But the feeling was still sitting there, heavy and quiet, the way the room had shifted when she walked in, the way eyes avoided hers, the way Barbara's voice had changed, just enough. And then it settled in, not as a question, but as something certain. This wasn't new. This was who they were when she wasn't there. Molly straightened, smoothing her hands over her sweater. She didn't feel angry, not even hurt the way she might have before. Just clear. Inside, the noise went on. Conversations, laughter, the same rhythm that had always been there. Molly stayed where she was. Some people needed all of that to feel whole. She didn't. For the first time, walking away didn't feel like losing something. It felt like choosing something she had been missing all along. Quiet.
Leslie and Jane had known each other for years, though not closely. They lived on the same street, close enough to cross paths often, far enough to live very different lives. They were the same age. That morning, Jane stood in her garden, trimming the edges of a rose bush that had grown uneven. She worked slowly, stepping back now and then, taking her time with it. The air was still, the kind of quiet that didn't need to be filled. Across the street, Leslie stepped outside. She paused before locking the door, turning her face slightly toward the reflection in her car window. She leaned in just enough to notice the details, adjusting a strand of hair, smoothing the line near her cheek, pressing her lips together before forcing a soft smile. Then she straightened, as if nothing had happened, and went back inside. Jane noticed, then returned to her roses. Later that afternoon, they saw each other again, a small neighborhood gathering, folding chairs, low conversation, the soft hum of people filling space without thinking about it. Leslie arrived first, stepping into the center of it all. Her dress was fitted, her makeup carefully done, her energy immediate. She greeted everyone, laughter easy, movements practiced. Jane arrived quietly. She wore something simple, something that didn't ask for attention. Her gray hair caught the light as she stepped in, loose and natural. She greeted a few familiar faces, then sat off to the side, comfortable in her own space. At some point, their eyes met. Leslie smiled first. Jane returned it. "How have you been?" Leslie asked. "Good," Jane said, "just enjoying the days." Leslie nodded, but her attention drifted. Someone called her name, and she turned back into the circle, picking up where she left off. Jane watched from where she sat, not in judgment, just noticing. The way Leslie checked her phone screen like a mirror, the way her hand moved quickly to her hair when a breeze passed, the way her smile shifted when conversations moved away from her. Jane looked down at her own hands. The lines were there, soft, familiar. She turned her palm slightly, then let it rest again, unconcerned. Across the yard, Leslie caught her reflection again, this time in a dark window. For a second, she didn't look away. Her smile dropped. The makeup, the effort, the careful pieces she held together every day, it all sat there on the surface. Beneath it, something quieter moved, something she didn't show. She glanced toward Jane. Jane was laughing softly at something a neighbor had said, her face open, unguarded. The gray in her hair wasn't hidden. The lines on her skin didn't compete with anything. There was no adjustment, no checking, no trying, just ease. Leslie looked back at her reflection. For a brief moment, a thought passed through her, almost unfamiliar. What would it feel like? To stop, to let the gray come in without covering it, to step outside without fixing every detail first, to show her face as it was, not as it needed to appear, to sit the way Jane sat, to exist without measuring how she was being seen. She held that thought for a second. Then someone called her name again. Leslie turned away from the window, her expression shifting back into place as she stepped forward, rejoining the noise. Jane remained where she was. The evening moved on, the light slowly fading, conversations blending into one another. They were the same age, standing in the same space, under the same sky. One still searching for something just out of reach, the other no longer searching at all.